Got a guest, and a very exciting guest as well. Paul Bristow is the Member of Parliament for Peterborough, won it at the last election. And Paul, as I understand it, you have already decided who you want to back in this leadership contest. Who is it?
Well, I've been telling people what my constituents have been telling me. I went to Diwali at the weekend in my constituency. I went to the Great Eastern Run, and I even did a bit of campaigning. And the overwhelming message from Conservative supporters and undecideds alike was bring back Boris Johnson.
Bring back Boris Johnson. That would be the most seismic situation, really. I understand that two other of your colleagues are saying the same thing. But whilst he may be popular with the membership, is it really possible that he'd be able to get over the parliamentary hurdles to make it to the final two?
Well, I don't know what some of the speculation. I don't have a back channel to Boris or anything like that. I'm just telling people what my constituents are telling me. But what I will say is, if you look back in 2019, where I fought a by-election in 2019, where I didn't come second, I came third. Okay, we were 19 points behind in the polls. But then just 6 months later, we went on to win that general election. I won my seats. Now, we're in a similar situation now, aren't we, where we're points and points and points behind in the polls. And lots of those red wall seats, where lots of my colleagues, who I'm very good friends with, face tough challenges to keep their seats at the next election. I think Boris Johnson could turn that around again and win them back their seats.
I mean, it's undoubtable, it's undeniable, rather, that that did happen. Tories back fifth place in the European elections, through to a thumping majority a few months later. But is it really a comparable time now? Boris Johnson has the scars of office, not as popular in some parts of the country as he once was, and of course the scandal of Partygate hanging like an albatross around his neck. Is all forgotten, is all forgiven? Well, let's just reflect on what brought Boris Johnson down. It wasn't his policies, it wasn't his track record. He got us through Brexit, he resolved that problem. Remembering the failed parliaments of the past, he unlocked that parliamentary problems there. He got us through the COVID pandemic. We had the war with Ukraine. He was levelling up in places like Peterborough. These are incredibly positive and popular measures. What brought him down was, slices of birthday cake, wallpaper, some of those questions. Now, look, I'm not saying that they aren't important, but if we want to win the next election, I think Boris Johnson is the right person to do it. Looking to that final scandal that brought him down, the appointment to the Whip's office of someone who allegedly, by some reports, Boris Johnson himself understood to be not the most proper person in the Conservative Party. Does that show a lapse in judgment, or indeed a lapse in management?
I think it's undoubted. If we go back to those times, he received the wrong advice and mistakes were made. But that was then, this is now. We face an emergency, not only for the Conservative Party, but we face an emergency of our reputation and how we can get the government, running properly again. Boris Johnson did that once. He can do that again.
Now, it could well be the case that the biggest person to beat in this coming race is Rishi Sunak. Of course, he won the most votes out of MPs in the last round. Not a majority, but more than a third. What will that race look like if it does end up being Boris versus his former Chancellor?
Look, again, we're speculating. I don't have a back channel to Boris. I don't know if Rishi Sunak has declared that he's standing. I don't like blue on blue attacks. We're all part of the same team. I'm old-fashioned that way. All I know is that Boris Johnson had that mandate from the country. He had that mandate from the members. And if we want to win, if we want those red wall seats to remain Conservative, if we want that coalition brought back together, I think Boris Johnson could do it.
Now, looking back over the past 5 turbulent weeks, was this always inevitable? Did people in your party give the current Prime Minister, Liz Truss, did your colleagues give her a proper chance?
No, I don't think it was inevitable, but I think mistakes were made. I think that's absolutely clear. She went too far and too fast on some of the things she wanted to do to generate growth. But Tom, growth is the right policy for this country. We want to see growth. I'm also a low-tax Conservative. I want people to keep more of their own money. Those were ideas that I supported, but it's clear that they were handled and communicated in the wrong way. Her position became untenable. That was then, this is now. We're in, a real crisis, for the Conservative Party, and I think Boris Johnson's the man to fix it. He did it once, he can do it again.